Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara, Radhe. Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara, Radhe. Radha Damodara, Radha Damodara, Radhe. Oh, Premanandi. So we'll continue from where we left off yesterday. Those here yesterday may recall Pritchett Maharaj had expressed his doubt. He had been leading up to it. And now you're going to hear the response of Shukadeva Goswami. So as you recall, Pritchett Maharaj built up his presentation. We know this about Krishna. We know that about Krishna. We know he has no material body, yet he's acting in a way that could be perceived as being partial. What's going on here? So we ended last night with Pritchett Maharaj saying, Itina Sumahabhaga Narayana Gunan Prati Samshaya Sumahanjatas Tadbhavams Chetum Arhati. O greatly fortunate and learned Brahmana, whether Narayan is partial or impartial has become a subject of great doubt. Kindly dispel my doubt with positive evidence that Narayan is always neutral and equal to everyone. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada wrote, since Lord Narayan is absolute, and we discussed, what does this mean, absolute? His transcendental qualities are described as one. Absolute, as we discussed, means everything he does is 100% purely spiritual with not the slightest material flaw. Absolute means even if it looks to you like Krishna is doing something defective, whatever he's doing is all good. It's saturated with all goodness. And as we're going to find out more and more, the problem is not with Krishna, the problem's with our vision. Since Lord Narayan is absolute, his transcendental qualities are described as one. Thus, his punishments and his offering of favor, his offerings of favor are both of the same value. Essentially, his inimical actions are not displays of enmity. In other words, his inimical actions are not inimical. There's no question of his feeling any enmity toward his so-called enemies. So you have so-called being inimical, his so-called enemies, but it's not the case. The problem, as we'll hear further in the purport, but in the material field, one thinks that Krishna is favorable to devotees and unfavorable to non-devotees. So what is one evidence of Krishna's showing favor to everyone? When Krishna finally instructs in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharmam Prajaja, Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, this is meant not only for Arjuna, but for every living entity within this universe. So this so-called displaying of favoring and disfavoring actually is all in our vision. It's not there in Krishna. We're doing something with the Sanskrit scientific terminology, aropita. We're imposing our own mental constructs upon Krishna. Oh, I know what that is. He's treating this one friendly, and this one he's treating with being inimical. I know that. I can recognize the situation. People have worse problems when they're trying to understand the Rasa Lila. Krishna dancing with all those girls. I know what that's like. I know what it feels like when the hormones start boiling. So you project your own calculations upon Krishna and totally miss the reality. Actually, I'd like to bring up something I was just deliberating on all day. I was thinking about some key concepts and our parampara's handling of those key concepts, especially as given by our founder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada, as he inherited the mission from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who inherited it from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So the question comes up, is the earth hell? What do you think? Huh? Mary, you have an opinion? Is the earth hell?
Could be.
Could be, meaning for whom? Or sometimes.
Sometimes I can see it where you're at.
Anyone else? This is all going to get back to the whole partial, impartial question. Yes.
Depending on consciousness of it individual.
Getting close. Is the earth hell? No, it's a chance to progress, but we're making it hellish. Hell is forgetfulness of Krishna. As soon as we agree with Krishna, hell is finished. Any questions about that? As soon as you agree with Krishna, and that's what Krishna asks at the end of Bhagavad Gita. Agree with me. Shut down your plan-making factory. Take my plan. Hell is finished. So then we go to bigger issues of Bhagavad Gita. War and the Gita. Did any of you have a problem when you first started reading Bhagavad Gita, or even afterwards, about why this war setting? No one had a problem. You didn't have a problem?
No, I mean, see it as an analogy or a metaphor, right? That
Oh.
with myself. Like, I'm just thinking of, like, from a Christian perspective, right? The kingdom of God is within you.
Oh.
But if I'm not tapped into that, then it's hell.
Would you take it straight on that this is actually an historical event?
Sure.
Oh, okay. Anyone else? When you first read Bhagavad Gita? Tell us.
That is too violent.
Too violent. You were looking for peace, right? But anything but violence. Mm-mm. So why did you keep reading?
Took me a long time to keep reading.
Well, what pushed you onward? You felt safe. Anyone else? Amelia? You had no problems?
Before I read Bhagavad Gita, I accepted what was there.
Anyone else?
Uh,
Yes.
I
Got to
thought-
speak slowly for me because I'm just getting used to American accents. Now I got to get used to
Caribbean
Caribbean.
I tried. So I thought there must be something special with the Lord Krishna acting a chariot driver for Arjuna.
Mhm.
So, there must be something.
Ah. Because Krishna is there, there must be something special going on. Okay. Yes, the Battle of Kurukshetra has importance only because Krishna is there. Anything connected to Krishna becomes important. So I've been meditating on this dialogue with Srila Prabhupada. Was it wrong for Arjuna to want peace? This goes even more specific than the war issue in general. Many persons have this idea when they first start reading Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna's right. Any of you felt that when you, yes, Arjuna's right. He's spot on. And then who is this Krishna? Urging him to fight when Arjuna wants to be a pacifist. He doesn't want violence. So you could pose the question. Was it wrong for Arjuna to want peace? Isn't that the right thing to do? And then Prabhupada's answer can catch you totally off guard. Says, first of all, you have to know what is peace. Yeah, peace is peace. Everyone knows what peace is. What's that got to do with anything? We're dealing with war here. And Arjuna wanted peace. But Prabhupada's throwing the hot potato back in your lap. What is peace? What is peace? First, you have to know what is peace. Its real platform, the real peace platform. Well, I know what peace is. But we're thinking peace is simply the absence of war. It's a no-brainer, right? So then Prabhupada responds, even if there's no war, does that mean everyone's peaceful? Yeah, that's right. Stopping war does not guarantee peace. Of all the incalculable things disturbing us, war is just one. Bhakti relieves all disturbing factors. So people like to focus on war because it's destructiveness and violence on a mass scale. But they overlook the miseries of material existence in general. In other words, why you seize on one thing, seize on the whole package of material existence. See a problem with that. But here we are, no war, stop war. We want peace, peace. But material nature is making a war on you. So Prabhupada is taking your fixation on one small department of material miseries and pointing you to the whole spectrum. What are you going to do about the whole package? And then he goes on to say something you might consider controversial. On the material platform, war is necessary. It can't be eradicated from material social life. What do you think of that statement? On the material platform, war is necessary. It means when people are in material consciousness, they're always going to fight. They can't have peace because of their material consciousness. Although we're hoping somehow nations will work it out. Somehow their warring factions will work it out. But it's not possible to have peace, even a war-free environment on the material platform. The material platform means competition for material dominance, for material resources. So the more we think about it, the more we see this is common sense, spirituality. So then Prabhupada points out, why do you think governments maintain an army and a police force? Because there's going to be disagreement. There's going to be infractions by one upon another. So material existence requires armies and police forces because it's material existence. Material consciousness requires these things. Then he puts your attention to the big picture. Material existence means the big four. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, birth, death, disease, and old age. These big four don't depend on whether there's so-called war or so-called peace. In other words, what are you going to do about your real enemies? Whether there's so-called international peace or international war, these four miseries are marching on. How are you going to stop that march? War or no war, in material existence, your problem is these four things. As long as there is human society, there'll be war and peace. Never has there been human history without war. It's a tough thought, but it's true. This past 20th century has been the most violent century according to known human history. Simultaneously, human beings are thinking, oh, we're so advanced. So he goes on. War is not the only problem facing us. It's just one of many we have to face because we have material bodies. So in this way, Bhagavad Gita is not hung up on the war issue. It's actually considered incidental to Krishna's instruction. Just surrender to me, always think of me. So the Bhagavad Gita is not grappling with should there be war, should there be peace. It's dealing with the struggle of the conditioned soul to reconnect with Krishna. On the material platform, there'll be war as long as human society exists materially. This is real grounded talk, getting right down to the real nitty-gritty. Therefore, the Gita is not focused on stopping war. It says, stop what? Yes, stop repeated birth and death. it's more possible for you to stop your cycle of repeated birth and death than it is for you to stop wars. So Krishna is inviting you make a complete solution to the overall problem, rather than get so hung up on one aspect of the total confrontation you have with material existence. So any questions about this? What do you think, Mary? Does it make sense?
Yes.
You're very agreeable today.
Sense to it.
Okay. You've been around, you've been having too much prasad. Anyone else? No comment. Yes.
Maybe I should go, if someone might argue with it.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Not me, someone else. might argue with that.
Not you, but okay.
Couldn't that be considered escapism? I mean, war is something that we could actually have some positive effect on. We could try to vote in a way that would prevent that. We could try to make peace amongst communities. If we're just focusing on getting out of the cycle of birth and death, are we leaving our fellow man to their own devices? It's kind of like escaping from a social responsibility.
But they are left to their own devices. We're being utmost pragmatic. That as long as people are in material consciousness, these things are going to go on. So therefore, we're trying to stop material consciousness. So we're getting to the root of the problem. You're escaping by just focusing on stopping war and forgetting about the whole package of material existence. You are the escapist. You're not facing what is the ultimate and overall confrontation. So what do you say to that? Guilty as charged. We have human sentiments and human emotions, so naturally we like that any kind of violence stops. That's our humanness. At the same time, we recognize that as long as human consciousness is materialistic, there will be violence, there will be conflict. So Bhagavad Gita also shows you the human side. As Arjuna is wrestling with the whole decision to fight or not fight, he decides, I don't want to fight. He's showing the humanness, the soft-hearted humanness. But Krishna is telling him there's an even deeper way to feel for the situation. And that's shocking for many people to understand. What could be more poignant? What could be more deep than Arjuna is saying, I don't want to engage in this battle. Pacifism, nonviolence. So Krishna is widening and deepening your understanding of what real soft-heartedness and real compassion is. But because of our material imposition, arupita, we can think, actually, Krishna is being cruel. Arjuna is right. So this is why our discussion about how Krishna's so-called inimical actions are not displays of enmity. He doesn't regard those opposed to him as his so-called enemies, but because our vision is in the material field, we think, Krishna's favorable to devotees and unfavorable to non-devotees. That's our vision due to our imperfections. Whereas Krishna is simply benefiting everyone no matter what he does. And his benefiting is open to everyone. So what's going on? His benefiting is open to everyone, but the receptivity of everyone is not the same. And that's what Shukadeva Swami will get into in his answers. But first, let's hear Shukadeva Goswami's response, his initial response to Pritchard Maharaj. It's a joyful response. Shri Rishiruvacha Sadhu Prishtam Maharaja Harish Charitam Advutam Yad Bhagavata Mahatmyam Bhagavad Bhakti Vardhanam Giyate Paramam Punyam Rishibir Naradadabi Natva Krishnaya Munaye Katayishye Hare Katam. The great sage Shukadeva Goswami said, "My dear king, you have put before me an excellent question." He goes on to explain why it's an excellent question. Discourses concerning the activities of the Lord, in which the glories of his devotees are also found, are extremely pleasing to devotees. Such wonderful topics always counteract the miseries of the materialistic way of life. Sometimes we wonder, what's the practical benefit of talking about Krishna and hearing about Krishna? But Shukadeva Goswami is reminding us, such wonderful topics always counteract the miseries of the materialistic way of life. Therefore, great sages like Narada always speak upon Srimad Bhagavatam, because it gives one the facility to hear and chant about the wonderful activities of the Lord. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Srila Vyasadeva, and then begin describing topics concerning the activities of Lord Hari. So Shukadeva Goswami is concerned with the suffering of the conditioned souls. And he knows what the solution is, what the therapy is. So in the purport, Prabhupada, first of all, deals with the necessity of first offering one's respectful obeisances to one's spiritual master. And then he talks about the necessity of our seizing the opportunity to hear about Krishna. Maybe some of you, maybe Ekavir and Jagannath Pandit here. Yes, you may remember one of the mantras from the 60s and early 70s, seize the time. Remember that one? Well, Shukadeva Goswami is saying that about hearing and chanting. Seize the time. Whenever there's an opportunity to hear about Krishna, you seize it. This is being proactive in the best way. Seize the therapy. Seize the applied spiritual technology. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, whenever there is an opportunity to hear about the transcendental activities of the Lord, we must take it. This is the Prabhupada's greed coming through. Like, whenever there's pizza served, you must take it. So he has an appetite, and he wants you to have that appetite. Whenever there's an opportunity to hear about Krishna, take it, seize the time. The more you do that, the more you know your spiritual health is coming back. Whereas in lesser states of hunger for hearing about Krishna, you think, well, who is it that's leading the kirtan? I don't know if I should go or not. Who's giving class? But as you mature, as you ripen, you're eager to hear from anyone who's glorifying Krishna. So we go on. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends Kirtaniya Sadahari. One should always engage in Krishna Katha by chanting and talking about Krishna and hearing about him. That is the only occupation of a Krishna conscious person. So you really only got one job. Hearing and chanting, talking about Krishna. That's the only occupation of a Krishna conscious person. Everything else is supplementary to that. So next time someone asks you, what kind of work do you do? What's your occupation? You can respond, just hearing and chanting about Krishna. Of course, according to who you're talking to, you'll get it. Someone will look at you, huh? Or how does that help? I mean, practically, what are you doing? What's your job practically? As if hearing and chanting about Krishna is not practical. It's like I was talking with our visitors from Finland, and they're both engineers, a civil engineer and a mechanical engineer. So someone asked, well, what do you do? Oh, civil engineer, mechanical engineer. But more accurately, what you're doing is, your occupation is hearing and chanting about Krishna. Everything else is supplementary. Someone talking to devotees in-house, you can at least say that. What's my job? Hearing and chanting about Krishna. Well, I support the family. I do some other things. So Shukadeva Goswami is letting Pritchett Maharaj know, your questions are correct, because by your questions, you're leading to a description of the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will necessarily be described because you ask these questions. Therefore, Sadhu Prishtam Maharaja, your questions are excellent. Wouldn't you be happy if someone told you that? Your questions are excellent. Okay, now let's get to Shukadeva Goswami's answers. Nirgunopi hidro vyakto bhagavan prakrite padaha samaya gunam abhishya bhaja bhada katam gata. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is always transcendental to material qualities, and therefore he's called nirguna, or without qualities. Because he is unborn, he doesn't have a material body to be subjected to attachment and hatred. Although the Lord is always above material existence, through his spiritual potency, he appeared and acted like an ordinary human being, accepting duties and obligations, apparently like a conditioned soul. So you might be thinking, is Shukadeva Goswami addressing the point here? Is Krishna partial or impartial? It seemed like he's been inimical towards the demons and friendly to the demigods. Yes, he is spot on, of course, because he's letting you know that partiality, friends and enemies, all that is part of having a material body. So he's establishing, or reminding you, Krishna has no material body, no material qualities. He has no material birth. Therefore, he's not subject to attachment and hatred. Those things are all part and parcel of the material body. And then he's helping you by saying, look, it's true that the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears and acts sometimes like an ordinary human being, sometimes accepting duties and obligations, just like a conditioned soul. It's true. People can see it that way, but that is not the fact. He is always above material existence. Above material existence means above attachment and hatred, friends and enemies, above material partiality. So this is going to lead to not only a discussion about material bodies versus spiritual bodies, but also a discussion about the three modes of material nature and how the Supreme Personality Godhead, although emanating the three modes of material nature, is always above them. A good example, metaphor for us to grasp that point is the rainbow. The rainbow seems at both ends to rest on the ground. But if you go try to find out that spot on the earth where the rainbow ends are touching the ground, you'll never find it. But it looks that way, like it's resting on the earth. But it's not. It just, to our vision, it seems that way. Similarly, Krishna seems to be in contact with material nature, yet he's always beyond it. So this is not a roundabout answer by Shukadeva Goswami. He's establishing the non-materiality of Krishna's appearance in this world. If you accept that, then there's no way, if you think deeply, there's no way you can accept that Krishna is materially partial. Once you understand the truth of his so-called birth, that's why Krishna offers that reward in Bhagavad Gita. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvata. If you can understand my so-called janma, my so-called birth, my so-called karma, my activities, which are not forced by karma or material nature. If you can understand that, then upon giving up your present body, you won't take another material body. If you understand this tattva, this science. So again, this is not Shukadeva Goswami beating around the bush. Oh, let me tell you about Krishna. He's from the spiritual world. He seems to act ordinarily, but he's beyond material qualities. Therefore, he's called Nirguna. So wait a minute, Shukadeva. You might be thinking, just address the question of partiality and impartiality. But he is. He's educating you. So therefore, in the purport, Prabhupada explains, although his activities materially appear different, spiritually they are absolute and non-different. Thus, it is an imposition upon the Supreme Lord to say that he's envious of anyone or friendly to anyone. And then you get a Bhagavad Gita verse, Avajananti mam bhuta manushim dhanamashritam. Fools deride me when I descend in a human form. The scientific truth is that Krishna appears on this earth or within this universe without any change in his spiritual body or spiritual qualities. So it's not that, okay, Krishna is originally spiritual, but when he enters the material atmosphere, he becomes tinged by material qualities, material activities. No, Shukadeva Goswami wants to establish he's never influenced by the material qualities. He's always free from the modes of material nature. But to faulty vision, he appears like he's acting under material influence. And that mistaken perception is called aropita, or an imposition. So when Krishna says, Janma karma chame divyam, talking about his divine appearance and activities, that means whatever he does is always transcendental and has nothing to do with material qualities. So once you accept that, then you can kind of back off from your aggressive position or observation that there must be some kind of friendship with the devatas going on here and some kind of inimicalness toward the demons. So that's why this chapter is so important. It's transforming your vision completely. It's getting into your innards in which you thought, well, yeah, Krishna's partial to the demigods. What's wrong with that? But actually, that's not so. How it is that it's not so? We'll find out more. You're already getting a hint. It's impossible for Krishna to have friends and enemies because friends and enemies is the symptom of a material body. So Prabhupada continues on in the purport. The fact is that Krishna is never partial to anyone. He is always equal to everyone. But because of imperfect vision, influenced by material qualities, one imposes material qualities upon Krishna. And when he does so, he becomes a mudha, a fool. One imposes material qualities upon Krishna. Again, we're thinking still, but what's wrong with his being the enemy of the Asuras? Isn't one of his names Daityari? The enemy, the killer of the Daityas, the demons? But he's not feeling being inimical. He's blessing them because however you come in contact with him, you're always going to come out better. That's the meaning of Krishna being absolute. Only the most fortunate demons come directly in contact with the Supreme Personality Godhead. And they benefit by that contact. They come out much better. Just like in Lagu Bhagavatamrita. How many of you have read Lagu Bhagavatamrita? No one. No one. It's the handbook of the avatars. We put out a very wonderful rendition of it, translated by Gopi Pranadana Prabhu, and purports are based on the commentary by Srila Baladev Vidyabhusan. You have not read? So there he explains. I was talking about this in Los Angeles last week. Today is Sunday, this week. So Hiranyakashipu, who's Jai in his first birth as a demon, was so overcome with passion that when he was killed by Lord Nrsingadev, he didn't recognize that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He thought, well, just like I, Hiranyakashipu, have done so many austerities and got all these benedictions from Brahma, similarly, this half man, half lion form must be the product of some mystic yoga practice, must be the product of some extraordinary austerities. So he, although face to face with Lord Nrsingadev, didn't recognize Lord Nrsingadev for who he is. So then you say, well, Lord Nrsingadev killed him, so how does he come out better? He, in his next birth, as Ravana, he has even more power and more opulence. Ravana was actually born in a Brahmana family. And his prowess, Jai taking birth as Ravana, had an increase in power and influence, even more than Hiranyakashipu. So, as you know, Ravana is killed by Ramchandra. But Ravana still, in that birth, Jai in that birth as Ravana, didn't recognize Ramchandra for who he is. He thought, he's just the husband of Sita, and I gotta have Sita. He was obsessed with Sita, not as the consort of Ramchandra, of course, but as a material personality and body that he wanted. So who is this Ramchandra? He's the husband of Sita, and I want Sita. That was his obsession. So Rupa Goswami explains that when Ramchandra dispatched Ravana, just like Hiranyakashipu, had no understanding of who he's dealing with. So then you say, okay, The point is, the impartiality of the Supreme Personality of God, whoever comes in contact with him is better off. So how we hear that Hiranyakashipu is better off materially as Ravana. So what about Ravana when he's dead? He takes birth as Shishupal, who's part of Krishna's extended family. And he's even more powerful than Ravana. You may not realize that. But Shishupal, this is the third birth of Jai. Shishupal, since birth, blasphemes Krishna personally. There's a personal thing going on. He would chant the holy names with contempt, with abuse. Kundari Kaksha. Daityari, the killer of the demons. Lakshmisha, the master of Lakshmi. Garuda Vahana, the master of the carrier bird Garuda. So he's chanting. But he's chanting with complete disgust. But the holy name is vibrating within his heart. He's now got such a personal, direct hatred of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And not only is the holy name vibrating within him, although he's chanting with complete offense, complete abusiveness, but he's hung up on the beauty of Krishna. Oh, he wears that yellow cloth. Oh, he's got the Srivatsa. Oh, he looks like this. He looks like that. He's just totally absorbed in recognizing Krishna's beauty and hating it. So then what happens? The Rajasuya Yajna, where Krishna is designated as the most honorable person there. So Shishupal, who's been blaspheming Krishna since an infant, even before he could talk properly, he was blaspheming Krishna. Shishupal cleverly is waiting so he can disrupt the whole yajna. He knows that there's a critical point in the whole yajna process where if there's any fault, the whole yajna is considered ruined. So he was waiting for that. He let them select Krishna as the one who gets the first worship, as the most prominent person there. He let all that go on. And then, right at the most critical juncture, he stands up and starts waving his hands. Wait a minute. Just wait a minute. How can this childish Sahadev present Krishna as the most worshipable person? I see in this audience many great ascetics, many mystic yogis, many rishis, many sadhus. Any of them could have received the honor of the first worship. But this silly boy Sahadev has chosen Krishna. Who is Krishna? We don't even know what caste he is, what Varna is. Is he a Kshatriya? Is he a Vaishya? Is he a cowherd boy? Is he a warrior? We don't know. He went on and on, just deriding the choice of Krishna as the most worshipful person there. So what was going on in the assembly? It's loaded with Kshatriyas. They were all tugging at their swords like, we're going to finish this guy off. But they know we couldn't do that because we'll ruin the yajna if there's bloodshed at this point. One drop of blood ruins the whole yajna. So some of them were just leaving. They covered their ears, walked out. We can't do anything about it. We don't want to be here when such an offense is being made. But Shishupal was going on and on with his diatribe. And so Krishna knew if this guy continues, violence will break out because not everyone's going to be able to control themselves hearing all this. So what did Krishna do? He sent his Sudarshan chakra through the air to Shishupal. And by the light, the divine light of the Sudarshan chakra coming toward Shishupal, he recognized, this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's not just an ordinary person that I've been blaspheming and hating and thinking he's so beautiful, I can't stand it. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In those final seconds of his existence in that body, he saw what Hiranyakashipu couldn't see. He saw what Ravana couldn't see. He saw this is the absolute Supreme Personality of Godhead. Off went his head. And his head went off in such a way that not one drop of blood was shed. The chakra did it with such surgical precision. So Shishupal apparently merged into the body of the Lord, but actually that was just a portal for him to go to Vaikuntha. So you see, in each successive birth, there was betterment. The person came out better, even though killed by the Supreme Lord in his various avatars. Materially, they came out better. Spiritually, they were increasing in proximity to Krishna, so that in the third birth, Shishupal is right in Krishna's extended family. Just as Dantavakra, Dantavakra was enraged by the killing of Shishupal. And he marched toward Krishna, saying, Krishna, you're my cousin. I shouldn't have to kill you. But you killed Shishupal, my man Shishupal. All right, any questions? Yes.
Question to previous thing which we discussed regarding war. So, for example,
Why didn't you ask it then? My God.
I want to-
All right, you're right. All right. Whatever you say.
when I if I lost my voice, for example, and I need to chant, I take measurements. I take some, how to say, I do something to restore my voice. I don't say, oh, it's Krishna's mercy upon me that I lost my voice. So when war is going on, it's kind of for ordinary beginning practitioner, it's very hard and trial situation. So the question is, do devotees need to do something to stop war? Just to
Yes, that's everything we're doing is to stop war. Cleanse material consciousness. And certainly we are all for even the temporary relief of material suffering. We're not against that. Just like today, because of all the pollution, the smoke in the air, the past few days, oh, my sinuses were just overloaded with gook. So I had to find a solution. I didn't say, oh, it's just all Krishna's arrangement. I'm not taking any temporary remedies. Who was talking to me about this? Who was I talking to yesterday? Oh, Vinod Kovida. Is he here? He was telling me in his training as a chaplain, one issue he often comes up against when he goes to console someone whose health has taken a turn for the worse and things don't look good. Sometimes they say, I don't want surgery. Jesus, I should just depend on Jesus. By taking surgery, I'm not depending on Jesus. Is that how you explain it? So he has to explain to them this way or that way without disturbing their theology that should take advantage of the surgery while depending on Jesus. So I didn't think this morning, oh no, I won't take anything for it. In fact, I do carry something with me in my health bag. I have a special health bag, and in it is a remedy for sinuses going haywire. So I took it. I didn't think I've solved my ultimate problems in life, but I still took it. Does that answer your question?
Yes, but how to understand that you're not overdoing, because it's also take time to do.
You're right.
And at the same time, how to understand that you're not artificially say, you just don't want to do, you're lazy, and you're just saying, okay, I'm depending on Krishna, whatever.
But your body belongs to Krishna. You do your best to keep it healthy for Krishna's service, knowing that ultimately the body is going to be finished. But because it's engaged in Krishna's service, doing nice pujari work, you take care of your body for Krishna's pleasure. Someone over here had their hand up. I missed that.
I don't know if I raised my hand.
Was it Akavir? You had your hand up, or? Oh, okay. I thought I saw someone over there. Anything else about this? I thought it was an interesting point Vinod Kovida made, that it comes up during his chaplaincy. I don't want the surgery. I should just depend on Jesus. I don't want to deny the divine healing powers. So are you successful often in convincing them, or sometimes you have to just back off?
In that time, I was, I think,
He
we got closer,
got closer to what?
making her decision. That's what she wanted.
Rajalila Devi, any comments? Krishnamai Devi.
I'm trying to understand that's where it comes in Krishna, because he's absolute.
What's that? I missed the first thing.
What comes in contact with Krishna
Whoever comes in contact with Krishna
turns out better.
yes, they're always coming out better.
And at the same time, we have free will to choose Krishna or not.
Mm-hmm.
So in the past times of Queen Putana, Krishna granted her a position of a nurse and
Mhm.
a kunta.
Mm-hmm.
However, it seems that it was interference with her desire to not have a close and intimate relationship with Krishna, because her approach was to actually heal Krishna.
But still, she came to him as a mother, a beautiful woman, so beautifully motherly. That's why Yashoda and Rohini and all the other ladies of Braj, they let her in. Oh, she must be a demigoddess. Oh, of course, this is Yoga Maya covering them over. And remember, Nanda Maharaj wasn't home. Because Nanda Maharaj is going to wonder, Yashoda, hey, what were you doing? You let this hideous creature in while I'm away. He'll see the dead body of Putana. But she came to him disguised with motherly affection.
Internally, that was not her desire. That
But she still came in that way.
But it means that to bring us closer, Krishna actually is.
It means, as Uddhava exclaimed, Aho Bhakiyam Stana Kala Kutam. Just see how merciful Krishna is. She came to him as a mother, although wanting to kill him. But Krishna said, all right, you killed so many babies. You're coming to kill me. I'll kill you. But I recognize that you came as mother. So I give you that position. So as I was saying the other night, you may not remember, maybe you weren't here. This is Lord Brahma is thinking the same thing. Krishna, you've given yourself to Putana. What do you have left for giving special to your dear devotees? If you can treat her like that, how do you treat your dearest devotees who never have the approach of a putana? And of course, the secret is that Krishna will choose to come under the control of such devotees' love. That's special. But Brahma, he doesn't immediately see that. What are you going to do, Krishna? You gave yourself to putana? What do you have left for the real bhaktas? Yes.
So does, like in reference to her question, does that mean that Krishna sees whatever little spark of desire that we have, even if it's like not direct towards him, that's favorable, and then he, in terms of the putana, is that kind of what he did?
As he says in Bhagavad Gita, Yoga Shemam Baham Yaham. I preserve the good that you have and bring to you the good that you lack for those who are engaged in my service. So he took it, oh, this putana, she's doing a little service. She wants to feed me. He's not afraid of her. He closed her eyes as she approached him. First of all, he closed his eyes because she had done such atrocities. They didn't really want to look at her. Secondly, he closed his eyes because he was going to have to kill her, and she's a woman, and according to Shastra, he should kill a woman. But he closed his eyes. Another reason for his closing an eye. Everything Krishna does has endless implications. Another question. Yes. You have to speak louder, please.
So when we make advancement in Krishna consciousness, does that mean that we will also become transcendental as and we're not affected by enmity or friendship, honor or dishonor? So does that, so that we get the same quality? Is that like, so then that means we attain that quality that Krishna has as well?
Yes. Like Prahlad Maharaj, the example given is that no matter what was happening to him, his focus on the Supreme Personality Godhead was 100% intact. Prahlad Maharaj even says in the 7th canto, he's saying to Lord Nrsimhadev, you sent me into this world to exhibit the qualities of a pure devotee. Because Lord Nrsimhadev said, you can have any benediction you want from me, take any, what material benediction do you want? So Prahlad first said, my Lord, remember my background. I'm born in the family of asuras, demons. Don't provoke me like that. Of course, there's no question of Prahlad being provoked by material desires. And then he says, you have sent me into this world to demonstrate the qualities of a pure devotee. Demonstrate for whom? Not for Lord Nrsimhadev. Lord Nrsimhadev is omniscient. He understands Prahlad's a pure bhakta, but he wants Prahlad's qualities displayed so that everyone else can see. So as we said the other day, maybe you weren't here, Prahlad's meditation on the Supreme Lord was unshakable, even while his father tried to torture him. But Prabhupada writes in the purport, you can more easily attain what Prahlad had just by chanting Hare Krishna. What do you think? Speaking about chanting Hare Krishna, let's hear some more from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur at the end of Sharanagati. This is right before what we read yesterday. It's a section called Vigyapti, spiritual request. So you're allowed to make spiritual requests of Krishna. There's reciprocation. but you don't turn Krishna into your order supplier. What's that old song from the 60s? Oh Lord, please buy me a Mercedes Benz. My friends all have BMWs. I must make amends. Prosperity religion, or the Hindu equivalent. Give me Lakshmi, Lakshmi, Lakshmi in a house by the sea. Jai Jagadisha Hari. But you're allowed to make spiritual requests. Krishna, may I never forget you. May I think of your pleasure more and more. May I stop being so self-absorbed. May I go wherever you want me to go in this life and the next, as you see fit. Like Prabhupada wrote on the Jaladuta when landing in the US, the prayer Markine Bhagavad Dharma. You can make me a success or failure as you like. Make me dance as you like. So this is a spiritual request coming from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Kabe habe bolo se din amar. Aparada gucci shudaname ruchi. Kripa bole habe hridaye sanchar. Please tell me, when will that day be mine? My offenses will come to an end, and a taste for the pure holy name will be infused within my heart by the power of divine grace. Trinadikahin kabe nije mani. Sahishnuta guna hridayete ani. Sakale mananda apani amani. Paye ashvadibo nam rasasar. Feeling myself lower than a blade of grass, welcoming the quality of forbearance into my heart, giving honor to all living beings, and being freed from false pride. When will I taste the essence of the liquid nectar of the holy name? In his prayers, he's always talking about tasting the nectar of the holy name. It's not just some theological contrivance chanting Hare Krishna. There's taste to it. And he's emphasizing that point. When will I taste the essence of the liquid nectar of the holy name? Dana jana ar kabita sundari. Boli bo na chahi deho sukha kali. Jame jame tau ohe goda hari. Ahoy tuki bhakti charane tomar. Wealth, followers, beautiful women, as described in worldly poetry, I do not want any such bodily pleasures. O Lord, go hurry. Please give me unmotivated devotion to your lotus feet, birth after birth. So he's making a request. This is what I want. You're allowed to ask Krishna for such things. Kabe korite si Krishna nama ucharana. Pulakita deha gadgada vachana. Vaivarnya vepatu habe samgatan nirantara netre babe asudhar. When, while articulating the divine name of Sri Krishna, will my body be thrilled in ecstatic rapture, my words choking with emotion, loss of color and ecstatic trembling occurring, and streams of tears flowing constantly from my eyes? He's teaching you spiritual aspirations and how to make a request based on those spiritual aspirations. Kabe nava dripe Sura Duni Tate. Goda Nichananda Boli Nishkapate. Nachiya Gaia Beda Ebo Chute. Batuler Prai Chadiya Vichar. When in the land of Navadvip, on the banks of celestial Ganga, will I run about innocently calling out, "Oh Gora, oh Nichananda." Dancing and singing, I will wander about like a madman, giving up all consideration of proper social behavior. You might say, what kind of perfectional stage is this? Running about on the banks of the Ganga in Navadvip Dham, calling out with abandon, "Oh Gora, oh Nityananda," dancing and singing up and down the bank of the Ganga like a madman, dancing and singing, not worrying about who's watching. Kabe Nityananda, more kore doya. Chara ibe more, vishayer maya. Dia more nija charaner chaya. Namer hajat, namer haj tete dibe adikar. When will Lord Nityananda be merciful to me and release me from the illusion of worldliness? When will he give me the shade of his own lotus feet and bestow upon me the qualification necessary to enter the marketplace of the holy name? This is something Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about extensively, the marketplace of the holy name. It's a spiritual marketplace. And the only price you have to pay is investing some faith that this will work. And that faith is not based blindly, it's based on the association of devotees and knowledge. And of course, upon approaching Lord Chaitanya, he's pleased when you turn to Nityananda and say, in order to be a real devotee of Gauranga, I need to become free from material desires. As Narottam Das Thakur writes, Ar kabe nitai chanda, karuna hoibe, samsara vashnamora kabe tucha habe. When, by the mercy of Lord Nityananda, will my material desires become insignificant? Like what happens when an insect lands on your shoulder. You don't feel like your whole life is falling apart. You just, if you may not even pay it attention. It's like Dasya Prem works in the garden. No doubt some insects land on him. He's not here, is he? Oh, he doesn't fall to pieces. Oh no, an insect has landed on me. So that's what Narottam Das Thakur means when he says, samsara vashnamora kabe tucha habe. When will my material desires become so insignificant? By the mercy of Lord Nityananda. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, following in the footsteps of Narottam Das Thakur, is saying, when will Lord Nityananda be merciful to me and release me from the illusion of worldliness? When will he give me the shade of his own lotus feet and bestow upon me the qualification necessary to enter the marketplace of the holy name? And the seventh, Kinibo Lutibo Hari Nama Ras. Nama Rase Mati Hoibo Vivash. Rase Rasika Charana Parash. Podia Mojibo Rase Anibar. Somehow or other, I shall buy or steal the mellows of the name of Lord Hari. This use of the word mellows is an old English usage. Basically, it means flavors, very special flavors. Somehow or other, I shall buy or steal the mellows of the name of Lord Hari. If you look in a dictionary these days for a definition of the word mellow, you'll find it just means something soft, something suave, some distinctive taste that's not aggravating, but soothing. Like sometimes you describe a devotee, he's a mellow fellow. But the old definition you won't find there. I tried, I looked in the current dictionaries. Becoming thoroughly intoxicated by those liquid mellows, I will be stunned by touching the feet of those great souls who are expert in relishing those mellows. I will constantly be immersed in the sweet nectar of the holy name. So his descriptions are very sensuous in the spiritual sense. And they really dispel our predisposition to think that bhakti is some kind of doctrine or theological position. And here Bhaktivinoda Thakur is talking about sweet nectar, liquid mellows, and describing his ecstatic symptoms in chanting and his aspiration for more immersion in chanting. By touching the feet of those great souls who are expert in relishing those mellows, I will constantly be immersed in the sweet nectar of the holy name. So now he concludes this section, the spiritual request. Kabe jiva doi, hoibe udoi, nija sukha bhuli sudina hridoi, baka tibinod, korya vinoi, Shri Agya Tahal Karibe Prachar. When will there be an awakening in me of compassion for all fallen souls? Then this Bhakti Vinod will forget his own happiness, and with a meek heart, he will set out to propagate by humble solicitation the sacred order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then this Bhakti Vinod will forget his own happiness. And with a meek heart, he'll set out to carry out the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is wherever you go, whomever you meet, teach the science of Krishna. All right, any questions about this? I find it wondrous hearing these glories of the process for chanting Hare Krishna. I don't feel discouraged thinking, well, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who can ever attain his level? But by hearing about his chanting, you develop that aspiration. Oh, one day, one lifetime, I'd like to be like that. And Krishna in your heart notices, as a super soul in your heart, he detects even the slightest movement in such a direction. Everything is based on desire. Desire is so subtle, but it exists. It's a substance. Just like the example given in Bhagavad Gita in one purport. The fragrance of a flower is so delicate and subtle, but it exists. Similarly, our desires are so delicate, but they exist. They're so subtle. And Krishna reciprocates with those desires. This is why it's so important to hear. Even though what we're hearing seems sometimes to be unattainable or not relevant to our current level of spiritual advancement. Of course, you have to be aware of your current level and not mistakenly think, by hearing about Bhaktivinoda Thakur's chanting, that's where I'm at. Yeah, that's me. Believe it or not, this does happen. Such a mistake does happen. That I'm hearing about these things means I'm on this level. And due to such a massive expansion of false ego, your spiritual position becomes degenerate. Anything? Yes.
With regards to the mistake of partiality in perception and paropita, how do advanced and experienced devotees, like say for example, Bharat Maharaj, making that mistake of developing an attraction for the deer, is it that this becoming completely purified of aropita characteristic of advanced stages of bhakti, or is it that it's just part of the purificatory process?
Even in the stage of bhava, there'll be a fragrance of anartha there. Even in the stage of bhava, the preliminary stage, right before praying. But it'll be just a smidgen. Of course, in lower levels of spiritual development, the anarthas, the unwanted contaminations, are more prominent. But even in the stage of bhava, there'll be a smidgen, tiny bit. Yes.
You of course described that, of course, walking the notes, of course, pushing Christians with spiritual desires. But if in our hearts we have material desires that we want to fulfill, is it better to approach Krishna in the hopes that by contacting Krishna they'll be purified?
Approach Krishna how and for what?
To, as it pleases him, help fulfill your desires. Or is it better to not do so?
Any way you approach Krishna, you'll benefit. But the question is, what is the best benefit? Look at Dhruva Maharaj. What was his program?
He wanted a kingdom, great king.
Better than anyone else ever had. But he approached Krishna. Not only did he approach Krishna, but he followed the instructions of Narada Muni. Narada Muni skillfully dealt with little Dhruva. Told him, okay, you're hung up on getting revenge. I don't see why you have to be so hung up about getting revenge. But anyway, here's the process, how to fulfill your desires. So Dhruva followed Narada Muni's instructions strictly. And then when he got the result, when he saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what did Dhruva say? Swamin katartosmi varam nayache. I don't want any benediction. I'm completely satisfied just seeing you. So this Krishna conscious society, our founder Acharya specifically writes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, this Krishna conscious society is for those who are free of material desires and full of material desires. By the association of advanced devotees, those who are full of material desires become purified. So it's the society of devotees is for everyone. So yes, you pray to Krishna that I have these desires. Please help me to deal with them in a progressive way. Okay. Yes.
Sure, Gurudev. Does the Mahabharata, the Great War, take place on Earth because this is Bhuvaloka, because there are two opposing energies? One can degrade oneself, go to hell by doing hellish activity or uplift himself in spiritual consciousness, because it's like the crossover. It's like a crossover point. There's the hells below, and then
I'm kind of lost here.
war seems like war is two opposing forces.
Yes.
This Bhuva Loka, there's we can either degrade ourselves from this point in the planetary system, or we can uplift our consciousness, or perhaps that can be done in any of.
The Devatas can go back to Godhead. They can go up through the planetary system to Brahmaloka and go back to Godhead with Lord Brahma. That's the gradual approach to the spiritual world. That's described in the second canto. And certainly those residents of earth, if they take advantage of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan mission, they can go back to Godhead very quickly. That's why the demigods pray in the fifth canto. If we have any punya, pious activity left in our bank account after our stint in the heavenly planets, we want to take birth on earth, because there, in a short lifetime, you can go back to Godhead. Whereas in the heavenly planets, the sense gratification is too intense. We forget Krishna so easily. So particularly, we want to take birth on earth. It's a better facility for going back to Godhead because of the presence, the presence of more miseries, and life is short. So that's why we were reading in the beginning how the question of whether the earth is hellish or not is up to what we make of it. The earth actually is a place for making progress. I hope that answered your question. Yes.
Can I ask a question on behalf of Jessica?
Yes.
We know the material world is doomed for degradation, so why do we create these farm communities with a mission to make the material world more comfortable? Why don't we just live in cities and take shelter as Mahatma saying kind of shelter? Because it's a lot of work and sometimes hard to do sufficiency.
Sankirtan devotees, wherever they are, need to eat. An army runs on its stomach. Where's the food going to come from? More and more people are starting to think, where's the food going to come from? It's getting more expensive in the shops, right? Everywhere I go in the world, suddenly devotees are waking up and realizing this food is costing a lot of money. Maybe we should start growing our own. There'll be those serving Lord Chaitanya in the cities, and there'll be those serving him in places like this. It's all necessary. Prabhupada's strategy, our founder Acharya's strategy, is that farms should be connected to a city project. He wrote in the 70s that every temple in the city should be connected to a farm. That's the reason why there were attempts at buying farms in the USA in the 70s. Problem was, very few devotees knew what a farm is. They just thought, there's some trees, there's some grass, it's a farm. They weren't so aware of fertility and climate and sunshine and rain and all, freedom from wind and all that stuff. But fortunately, here at Gita Nagari, you have an extremely fertile farm. It was picked out by a farmer, Paramananda Das, Prabhupada's disciple. He was disenchanted with New Vrindavan, and he wanted to really do farming. So he and a devotee named Devaki Nandan picked out this place for its fertility and its agricultural overall agricultural facility. So when Prabhupada came here in 76, he stressed productivity here at Gitanagari. And when he would speak in India, he would refer to the productivity, the agricultural productivity of Gitanagari. And before he departed, he said, I want to go to Gitanagari and show how to live off the land. I don't know how he's going to do it. But that's what he said. I want to go to Gitanagari and teach how to live off the land. So there's so much service to be done here. You have to not only grow food, but you have to help the devotees to grow. In order for the food to grow, the devotees have to grow too. Grow spiritually. So we have to nourish the crops and we have to nourish the devotees. That was your intro. Did you know that? I was passing the ball. Did you get it?
So, first I want to thank you very much for giving your time every evening for nourishing the devotees spiritually. As you said, that's so needed. I was just reflecting on your answer to the accident about making the spiritual requests of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I really appreciate you speaking about Bhaktivinoda Thakur's prayers. Really, I think it's really a key for the nourishment of devotees, just to hear the prayers of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So when you answered his question, you mentioned about Bhav. Someone can be on that platform of Bhav and still have a tinge, Lanarjana Vritti. So I'm guessing someone on the platform of Bhav really do appreciate those prayers of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. They appreciate, they can really enter into the request of Bhaktivinoda Thakur prayers. So my question is, what is the tinge of Anarjana Vritti that may be there for a person that's on the level of Bhav?
Kama. That's the all-devouring enemy of this world. Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, Raja Guna Samudbhava, Mahashana, Mahapatma, Vidyanam, Vidhi, what? Viranam. You might say, oh, that stuff? Come on. I was reading something else Prabhupada said today. He was commenting on the ordinary conception of kama or lust. He said, how has the standard of pleasure sunk so low? What kind of vision is this? So, yes, kama simply doesn't mean the physical expression of lust. It's referred to the whole package of which that physical expression is part of, the whole package of lording it over, being the supreme enjoyer, which has its culmination in material existence is the physical expression of lust. But we're talking about the whole package of I am the enjoyer. I am the direct enjoyer. That's what we're really doing battle with. It's constitutionally impossible for us to be the direct enjoyer. But in Maya, we think it's possible. We can only be indirect enjoyers. We please Krishna, Krishna enjoys, and then we're happy. That's the mystery of bhakti. Therefore, Bhaktivinoda Thakur in that last prayer we just heard says, when will I forget my own happiness? And just focus on carrying out the order of Bhakti. So yes, it's explained in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that even in the stage of bhava, there can be a little smidgen of that. And when you reach the prem, then all that is gone. So successfully, as you go through the stages, of Shraddha and Bhajana Kriya and Nartana Vritti, successfully at each stage, the main anartha of thinking I'm the enjoyer diminishes until you reach Baba, where there's just you might say, a little echo of it. And then at praying, which is rare in this world, it's wiped out. This is described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. We're working hard on that at the BBT. It's going to be 5 volumes, 800 pages each, with a comprehensive index, commentaries by Prabhupada. Prabhupada started his commentary on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He did about 20 verses. And commentaries by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and of course by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Jiva Goswami. So we've been working on this for about 6 or 7 years now. So we hope that we can make it an offering to the acharyas and for the pleasure of the devotees. We've presented Brihad Bhagavatamrita, presented Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Tattva Sandarbha. We have a few more Sandarbhas to come out. We're working on the most first-class version of Jaiva Dharma. So those of you who have sufficiently read Prabhupada's book several times, you can look at these, this supplementary curriculum. All right. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Holiness Devamrita Swami Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.